Dabbs, and I am a USC Public Health intern with the Wooten Center this summer. And I have been tasked and am happy to have helped facilitate these the Parent Power Group workshops. And this week we have Mr. Joshua Prudhomme. He is the Educational College and Career Ambassador at the Brotherhood Crusade YouthSource Center. Prior to joining Brotherhood Crusade, Joshua served as a research and strategy consultant for the National Coalition for Educational Equity. He has worked in numerous research, advocacy, and student support roles in California and Colorado. Joshua is a PhD candidate in Educational Foundations, Policy, and Practice at the University of Colorado Boulder. He is committed to providing young people and families, especially those hindered by racial and economic discrimination, with tangible, high-quality opportunities to learn, succeed, and thrive. Racial equity and justice for Black and other historically marginalized community of color are at the core of Joshua's scholarship, advocacy, and praxis. And with that, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate that. Hello to everybody here joining us. I'm sorry you can't see me right now because I am screen sharing the PowerPoint, and I'm afraid that if I switch back, I won't be able to get it back to how I have it.
We see you.
Oh, you do see me?
Oh,
Oh, okay. Well, let me fix my tie for a minute then. Okay, perfect. No, that's great. That's great. I'll be sure to look at the camera then. Awesome. So I have the honor of presenting on the important topic of employment during the pandemic. So I'll begin first with a brief history of my organization, the Brotherhood Crusade. So the Brotherhood Crusade is about 52 years old. It's a grassroots organization with a vision of improving the quality of life and meeting the unmet needs of low-income, underserved, underrepresented, and disenfranchised individuals. So the mission of the Brotherhood Crusade is to help individuals overcome the barriers that deter their pursuit of success in life and to facilitate opportunities for a better quality of life. So the ways in which we go about doing this is we typically take a holistic approach. Okay, so we concentrate on health and wellness. We concentrate on facilitating academic success, promoting personal, social, and economic growth, providing access to artistic excellence, and very importantly, cultural awareness. And I would add to that like a socio-cultural, a socio-historical awareness as well. And then increasing financial literacy and of course, community development. So some of the services that we provide in our organization. So our organization is the Brotherhood Crusade. There is the YouthSource Center arm, which I'll talk about in a minute. We have another program called the Boys and Young Men of Color program. And then we have GRID. And GRID focuses on sort of younger folks. We focus on about 14 to 24, and they focus on, I forgot what age group they start with, but it's typically like elementary to middle school students. And it's sort of like a gang reduction program as well. And then Boys and Young Men of Color started from another grant called the Bloom Initiative, which was focusing on like young men of color. Boys and young men of color is in the name, but it's really geared also towards youth who, it's sort of like a deterrence towards the juvenile justice system, or youth who've been involved or formally adjudicated youth is how it started its beginnings. But it's really blossomed into this really great program that supports young men and also has an excellent college component as well. So in addition to those services, right, we do a lot of educational enrichment, a lot of academic assistance, arts and drama appreciation, at-risk youth prevention programs, health education, life and social skills training, a good amount of character development, and employment readiness, post-employment services, and financial education. That's even just to name a few. And so YouthSource Center, so this is where this is my office, is the Brotherhood Crusade YouthSource Center. So we're one of 14 YouthSource centers in Los Angeles. We operate the Southwest YouthSource Center for the City of LA's Economic and Workforce Development Department. And that means we predominantly serve communities that are in South Los Angeles. That's the Southwest area for us. And so we're a citywide program, and we're open to young people ages 16 to 24, and all of our services are free. Okay. Our center, so we also serve ages 14 and 15 as well, through sort of competitive grants that we receive, so we can essentially capture the whole child in high school age and onward. But the YouthSource Center is specifically for 16 to 24-year-olds. And so again, we offer work readiness, career exploration, job skills training, tutoring, computer training, college prep and financial aid, college counseling and mentorship, and then among other forms of social, cultural, vocational, and academic forms of enrichment. And a lot of the stuff that I mentioned there is specifically work that I do. So I look forward to working with you and working with your young people and any other young people that you guys might have referred to us. Please feel free to contact me and my office about that, and we look forward to supporting them. And my contact information is at the end of the presentation, so I'll be sure to share that. So aside from what I mentioned, a really important piece is that the Brotherhood Crusade has been very innovative and effective in its approach towards providing youth and essentially holistic services for young people, especially opportunity youth, formerly known as at-risk youth or disconnected youth in some circles as well. These are youth with multiple challenges and barriers, largely not through no fault of their own, right? It's very nice that we have the context now. Well, I would argue that our communities, meaning communities of color, Black communities, Latinx communities, have always sort of known, because it's their lived experiences, what the premise of the Fed uprising that we're undergoing is, right? But in a larger context, I think it's becoming clear, more clear, hopefully that remains, and it's not just a passing awareness or a passing recognition or a passing wokeness that we experience in the post-Fed uprising context. Hopefully that doesn't occur, but we know that there are significant challenges and barriers that young people and families experience. Not just economic, we'll be talking about mostly economic barriers today, but of course racial, cultural, linguistic, gender, sexual orientation, sexuality, and so on and so forth, ability, right? This is all sort of within the scope of my work personally, and then also within the scope of the Brotherhood Crusade. And so through that, we use evidence-based, trauma-informed, youth-centered, and culturally sustaining, culturally relevant sort of pedagogy and how we approach our curriculum and our design. And we do comprehensive workforce and youth development programs, and we've been doing that for about 25 years. So let's get into sort of the meat of why we're here today, right? So we want to know about the economic impact of COVID-19. So there has been disproportionate job loss and pay cuts, right? That's what this slide, this graph on the right is based off of a survey conducted in April 2020 of US adults. So as you look at it, right, it says more than 4 in 10 adults say they or someone in their household has lost a job or taken a pay cut due to COVID-19, right? So then you look at who sort of stands out, where the disproportionality is, right? So we see that 41% of Hispanic folks have been laid off or lost a job, right? 32% African American or Black have been laid off or lost a job. You have about 51% have had to take a pay cut from the Latinx community and 34 from the Black communities, right? And then even worse, either or both, right? Have someone in their family who's either lost a job and or had to take a pay cut, right? Then you go down to ages, and then fortunately it doesn't have this specific graphic doesn't show younger than 18, but this is ages 18 to 29. See, they're disproportionately affected by COVID-19. So this is young people, right? These are millennials and some Gen Xers. And then you have people with less educational attainment, so a high school degree or less, or some college have been disproportionately affected. And then, of course, lower income folks have been disproportionately affected as well. And this doesn't have gender breakdown, but we also know that research shows women are disproportionately affected by the impact of COVID-19. And also, so in LA specifically, I did a little research on this, right? So what the chart doesn't show is that the statistics are even more troubling than they appear, right? So this says what has happened since COVID-19, but it doesn't give insight into where we were at prior to COVID-19, which in LA was not good, right? It's still not good. So research shows that people in LA suffer astounding economic inequality, okay? Nearly 1 in 5 LA residents live below the poverty line, which is about $24,600 a year for a family of 4. And that was a 2017 or 2018 poverty line number in the tax codes. And so worse, the poverty rate in LA is 7% compared to 4.7% nationally, okay? So while it's also true that family income is correlated with parental education, California's low-wage workers are more educated now than they were ever before, okay? So in other words, educational attainment is a factor in people's ability to earn sustainable wage, but it is not the predominant factor, okay? So what that means is that low-wage workers are also attaining some college level education, are getting their high school degrees or earning their GEDs, and still earning less, significantly less than they should be. Okay, so a low-wage worker, the way it's defined is that it's individuals who have earned less than like $14.35 an hour. So that's about minimum wage in California. California's minimum wage is increasing to $14.25, and that's what well, I'll mention later, but that's what we pay our interns and our young people that are contracted with us, that we place in job sites, is they're guaranteed $14.25 an hour. And so this slide shows, it's from the UC Berkeley Labor Center, and it shows the share of low-wage workers within major demographic groups in California. So again, we see that younger folks, ages 18 to 19, comprise the bulk in their age bracket of low-wage workers, right? So again, around $14.25, basically around minimum wage is what we're talking about. And then you also see education. Of course, you see again that individuals with less than a high school degree, and then high school, and you see it sort of, you see where the bar graph, what the bar graph shows, right? And then women, again, we see that. And then interestingly, this graph includes place of birth, which I think is very important, especially in a Los Angeles context where we have a lot of migrant workers and a lot of undocumented workers, right? And it's important that we support their economic stability as well. And support meaning that we provide everyone, all humans, regardless of whatever status we all have, all humans, the ability to learn, the ability to succeed, and the ability to thrive, right? I think at the Brotherhood Crusade, as well as myself, we stress sort of these human-centered praxis, right? This is a humanizing praxis that essentially states that we all sort of, it's important for us to recognize the power of our humanity, right? We undergo different things in life. The world is structured along racial lens. The world is structured along gendered lenses. But it remains to be true that we are all still human beings. And I think that's an important recognition here as well. Okay, so another piece here is that lower wage essential workers. So, okay, pull back a little bit. So we know that the CARES Act was passed recently in light of the economic impact of COVID, right? And so the CARES Act is where the unemployment benefits are coming from, the unemployment incomes are coming from. So this is the conversation of unemployed folks under the CARES Act are getting like an extra $600 to survive, frankly. And so there are, unfortunately, unintended inequitable consequences. So for the lower wage essential workers, okay, they are inadvertently disadvantaged by these recent reforms that are meant to help people survive. So according to Anderson and Levine, in a 2020 article, this is based off of a 2019 survey, the unemployment income benefits are between 25 to 35% greater than current wages of essential workers. Okay, so that's about on average $17 an hour. So essentially people who aren't working are, in some cases, are earning more than our essential workers, our frontline workers are. So that's an unintended inequity, right? And it's not to say to blame, the narrative isn't that, you know, we're blaming those who aren't able to be working right now. The narrative instead is, more truthfully, that our essential workers deserve hazard pay, right? They deserve to make more, and then in the meantime, before we can raise the minimum wage up, they deserve to earn the hazard pay that merits what they're working on, right? Or what they're doing, how they're helping us live, right? And they're putting themselves at risk for that. So that's something to take note of. And in looking for work, right? Because as I'll talk about in a little bit, and getting a little bit ahead, but I just want to mention it. A lot of the employment opportunities are in essential jobs right now, right? And that's what makes them essential. So there is that cost benefit a little bit if you're on unemployment. In some cases, you may be making less by working, but there are those trade-offs because you may also be getting benefits like medical benefits, right? And also, it's oftentimes better to be working, right? So those are some things to think about and some contradictions to know about, and to sort of have that conversation with yourself and your family about what works. I think strategizing during this time is important. The rules have changed. The context has changed a great deal. And so what used to be a matter of fact status quo, I think requires some reflection and some research and some weighing the costs and benefits of everything. And that's a recommendation. So Rebecca, would you mind? So we're gonna do a little poll just to see where we're at, right? So in this poll, I want you guys to select which industries or job sectors are being hit the hardest, and just select all that apply. Okay, let's see where we're at. So we're gonna share the results. There we go. Can you guys see the results? Do I need to move this up? Okay. All right, so let's see, we have about, so 3 people, right? We're a limited sample here in a research context, but this is great. So hospitality was one that was listed, okay? Delivery services, food services, tourism, 100%, yeah. Entertainment. So the correct answers are, some of the industries that have been the hardest hit have been hospitality, have been food services, tourism, entertainment, and recreation. And so the 3 that I included there to kind of throw folks off a little bit are delivery services, which no one was thrown off. Congratulations. Banking, okay, and then emergency medical services, right? And so banking might have been a little confusing because I didn't explain what I meant there, right? And then emergency medical services also, it depends, right? Like if we're talking about police, are we talking about firefighters? Are we talking about EMTs? So on and so forth. So I think you guys did wonderful. Let's do that. So there have been about 1.3 million jobs that have been lost in LA County since May. That number has probably increased in just a month and will probably continue to increase. I know that we have reopened, and I know that the governor has issued a statement suggesting that businesses are going to be closing again because of the spikes in COVID. So we will see what that does in terms of jobs. But the industries and sectors that have been hit hardest, like we spoke about, are leisure and hospitality. So it's like hotels and other industries such as that, arts, entertainment, and recreation, tourism and travel, accommodation and food services, retail storefronts and wholesalers, then the clothing industry, textile and apparel manufacturing, and then of course independent contractors and business owners have taken hits as well. So these are predominantly service sector jobs. So housekeeping, teaching to some extent, retail and restaurants. And so in terms of job searching, right? So again, the YouthSource Center primarily focuses on 14 to 24-year-olds. In terms of jobs for adults, there's a comparable program, a citywide program for adults as well, and it's called the YouthSource Centers. And they have their own programming, and it's similar to ours. It's just it's definitely more geared towards adults. So I would refer to those YouthSource Centers for assistance. If you're an adult searching for a job, that'd be a good place to go to. But I'll also talk about some things we can do as both youth and adults in this presentation. So I'd like to introduce the Summer Youth Employment Program. So this is sort of the program I was speaking about. So this offers guaranteed employment of up to 250 hours for young people. Okay. It's important to go to www.hirelaYouth.com to sign up. I have, Rebecca, you have the flyers I sent. Is that correct?
I believe I have, yes, that you recently sent.
Yes.
Yes, and I could
Okay.
share with all of the participants after anything you want me to share, I
Cool.
will do that.
Okay, great. And then you can also, if those links can be put up for the YouTube viewers as well, that'd be somehow, then that'd be wonderful, because
Absolutely.
we used to do like Hire LA Youth and the Summer Youth Employment Program used to work by, referrals and youth going into our YouthSource Center, but now the county has changed it to a website format. And so it's really important to fill out the application correctly. And so the flyers or the artifacts that I was referencing are pretty detailed instructions on how to do that. So once that application is complete, then you'll be prompted to select your provider, and the providers are YouthSource centers, right? So if you are in the South Los Angeles region, I recommend you to select Brotherhood Crusade, right? If you're in the East Los Angeles region, I recommend you to select the YouthSource Center that's in that region, because that'll be sort of really important. I mean, a lot of what we're doing now is virtual, but some of it is in-house too. So it's important that we try to remove the barrier of transportation when selecting your center. So the eligibility requirements, these are some of them. They aren't all of them, but again, must be 14 to 24, must live in LA. There's low income criteria. There's criteria of whether or not receive public assistance. It's not must check yes to all of these things. It's must have some of these, right? So if a student is a foster youth or even former foster youth, if a student is experiencing homelessness, those are some of the eligibility criteria. And again, it's guaranteed employment from 120 to 250 hours and guaranteed wage of $14.25. Okay. And we provide, it's not just we'll put students in a job. A lot of it is going back to the services we provide. So we'll give character development. We'll do a lot of world of work preparation. I actually teach a lot of that. And there's a lot of like self-actualization pieces that we do. So essentially, Rebecca and I had a great discussion before the presentation began about what it's been like for us as adults to job search, and to recognize that it's important to be present. It's important to be prepared, right? And a lot of it is having sort of your mind right and ready to be employed. And what I mean by that is allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to make mistakes, and giving yourself permission to explore and ask for help and be vulnerable, right? These are some of those soft skills that a recruiter might mention. I mean, I don't expect someone to put vulnerable on their resume, but but in terms of being human-centered, right? Like these are the aspects that make us who we are, right? Like that make us have this commonality of being a human being. So it's a lot of that goes into the character development pieces, especially for young people who are growing up in cultures that, I don't mean racial cultures, I mean like environmental stressors, environmental racism and poverty, and the kind of things that make us difficult and make us hardened. Not make us difficult, I mean make our lives difficult, but make us hardened in order to survive or persist. And some of it is just sort of like undoing those coats of armor that we learn to wear in our environments, just to protect ourselves, to protect our own vulnerability. So in Brotherhood Crusade, we really stress on like helping youth sort of just be themselves and blossom in themselves and really love who they are, because we do. So those are some of the sort of socio emotional curriculum and that we implement in our center. And I have the pleasure of teaching a lot of that. So I look forward to seeing your young people in my classes. So job search, right? So we talked about that summer youth employment opportunity. Now we'll get into kind of like where to look, right? These are the online opportunities, typical places we would look for a job, right? So ZipRecruiter, I would highly stress them. It's actually the way that I came to be working at the Brotherhood Crusade. I am recently hired, so I am nearly 2 months old at the Brotherhood Crusade. And I used ZipRecruiter, and it was the first time I used it. I had no expectations. I had been on LinkedIn, I had been on Indeed, I've been on Idealist. These are all sites that I've used personally. And they, Indeed and Idealist, were useful for me in really sort of finding out a broad scope of potential jobs available. But to be frank, I was never sure which job that was posted on that site, if it was still available, right? Like they don't remove jobs from the site, right? This is some of the caveats of online job search engines. And LinkedIn has been great as well. And I've applied through jobs through LinkedIn, but LinkedIn, I think, is useful more so for that sort of professional networking piece. And, finding out whether or not someone that you know in your sort of LinkedIn network works at a place that's hiring, and then sort of, again, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and network and ask them, introduce yourself, make a connection, and then ask them about the job, right? So it's this like extra work that sometimes feel like you're burdening yourself, like you're burdening another person. And honestly, just forgive yourself. You're not. Everyone is trying to find these opportunities. So give yourself permission to feel awkward about it, but don't let that stop you going after an opportunity.
Mr. Prudhomme?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can we ask you a quick question?
Sure, absolutely.
The reference, the higher LA Youth, is it layouth.com or .org?
It is .com.
.com. Okay.
Yep. www.higherlayouth.com.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, if there are questions right now, feel free to ask. I should have said that ahead of time, but go ahead, Miss Davis.
I went to the link and I put it in the chat too. It gives the error message that says the resources you are looking for has been removed. It has its name changed or is temporarily unavailable.
Let's see.
Did it change to LAU? Because that was an option.
Okay, it might have. Let me see. So, are you seeing this on my screen?
I'm sorry. Yes, I see your screen.
Okay, yeah. So it seemed to work for me. Let's see, higherlayouth.com.
Okay.
That's what I typed. I typed higherlayouth.com, no www.
Okay. higherlayouth.com.
Did it go through?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then let's see. Here we go. Also, again, feel free to ask questions as I'm going through.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Miss Holmes.
Remember me, huh? Ryan's mom. So of course, when I put in my zip code, and then it takes me to a different area because I live in Gardena.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I don't have the sheet of which YouthSource centers are where, but yeah, there would likely be a different YouthSource center for serving Gardena area.
Okay.
So again, it's your choice, right? Like you can still select Brotherhood Crusade, and I would encourage you to do so. But it would just be like picking up checks, for example, or attending some of our classes. The young person would need to be able to come to our office to do so.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So is it LA County or LA City only?
I feel like it's county.
It's county because there's another link and it takes me to America's Job Center for LA County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so on that segue, right? Like other than those online massive, job sites, right? The lacounty.gov is a great place to look for work as well as CalJobs. But CalJobs, I think, will sort of take you to lacounty.gov, perhaps. I'm not sure if it directs you to that, or if there's separate jobs, but we've referred a lot of youth to lacounty.gov, and I myself have looked on there to help place young people. Oh, here's what I want to go to. So another piece to this of where to look, right, is to looking strategically, right? So what does that mean? It means that, and I can share this link with you all as well. This is the directive from Governor Newsom, right, on which sectors and then which jobs within those sectors are considered essential workers. So these are all of us who are permitted to work during COVID, and don't have to worry about our businesses being shut down, right? So
Can you blow it up a little bit?
Yeah, let me see. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a pretty long document, but each of these even has a breakdown, and it doesn't exactly list the jobs, but it gives a description, right? So let's use an example, right? So we have the 13 critical sectors. Let's go to, for example, healthcare and public health, right? So it gives a description of the sector, and then this is the essential workforce, right? So again, these are more like paraphrase paragraphs, right? So healthcare providers, it gives like a list of including, right? Other workers. So let me ask, for the people here, what sort of fields out of these might you be interested in looking at? So Miss Davis, what for yourself or your child? What
Guess the food and agricultural sector.
Okay, so you can even, it's a hyperlink, so you can just click it and it'll take you right there.
Okay.
Right, so here we're talking about workers that support groceries, pharmacies, convenience stores, other retail, sells food and beverages, okay? Carry out for restaurants, right, and quick serve food operations. So delivery food employees might be like Uber Eats, Instacart, food manufacturer employees.
So my daughter is 15, and you're saying that she could possibly work at the grocery store?
Yeah, if she gets a work permit.
Oh, she would have to go through. So this application that we're doing, we'll still have to do another application for a work permit?
Yeah, so 14 and 15-year-olds, yeah, we'll need a work permit to participate. That's correct. So they can, let me correct that. So they can start in the summer. They don't need a work permit in the summer. So if we get them enrolled for SYEP, then they don't need a work permit, but once school starts, they'll need it. Okay. And usually once school starts, we try to place them in like a school, in the school they're at, for example. And that we've definitely done that before. So it should be fine. We've had 14 and 15-year-olds working as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but I should put an asterisk on that because we don't yet know what LAUSD is doing. If they're opening up their schools, when they're opening up their schools. So I imagine there might be some sort of a delay if there's a school site placement. But there are opportunities. There are sort of, I was going to pull out my sheet, but so because of COVID, the county has changed some things around aside from the website, right? So they're allowing some students to work remotely, essentially. And so students are also paid for the classes, right? So any class that a young person is in with me or with someone else, they're paid for that time. It's still $14.25. So they're paid for the workforce development, they're paid for the curricular development, character development, and they're paid for their internship. And that's a part of those hours that we spoke about, the 120 to 250 hours. So some students will be able to do it virtually. Some will be able to do sort of the traditional that I've spoken about, and others who are interested and or place and or find opportunities that are humanitarian based, right? They actually are the ones who are eligible for the up to 250 hours, essentially. So if the work that they're doing is for, you know, the public good in some way, and they haven't exactly told us how they're defining humanitarian, so I don't know the bounds of that yet. But we will know at some point soon. So let's see, Ms. Holmes, would you like to look at any of these sectors? Would you like to recommend a sector for yourself?
Where, you know, currently I work for FedEx, so, you know, we're
Okay.
essential all the time. And I consider that a great position somewhere in transportation and things of that nature, because in anything, the post office, FedEx, DHL, they're not going to stop moving.
Right. I absolutely agree.
No matter what the pandemic is, you're going to always need materials.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was even, let's see, we have a few other people. I appreciate your comments, Ms. Holmes and Ms. Davis. Ms. Creighton or Daniel Cormier, would you like to recommend any sector to see? You can just unmute yourself if you'd like to.
I don't see the list anymore.
Okay, let me pull it up. Sorry about that. Here you go.
So let's go for the energy sector.
Okay, good choice. I feel like Vanna White right now, kind of. All right, so energy sector, right? So we have, so there's information technologists, right? IT folks. I don't know what OT is actually. Does anybody know what OT is? I will have to look that one up. So customer service operations, call centers. Oh, that's good. Okay. Call centers, emergency response and customer emergency operations, emergency management systems, control systems. Okay. Cybersecurity engineers. So this is tech as well as call centers. And then we have like the supply chain aspect of it, refining and manufacturing, logistics, right? In the next slide, I actually talk about that a little bit more. Logisticians, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is one of the career fields that's going to be an in-demand job in the post-coronavirus economy. That's one of the projections. So that's good, right? Waste disposal, yep. Okay. All right. Retail. Okay. Let's see. Ms. Creighton, do you
Yes,
have
sir.
a one you would like to check out?
Let me see. Maybe government operations.
Okay. Yeah. And other community-based essentials. So this is how I am still able to work. How the Brotherhood Crusade and the YouthSource centers across the county are able to be to continue working during COVID. It's through the community-based and essential functions, government operations statute. So yeah, let's see. So elections, right? Interestingly, I think like the census employees essentially would be in here as well, right? And I think the census is still hiring. I was actually supposed to be working for the census previously to being hired with Brotherhood Crusade, because I'm also a grad student and part-time work made sense at the time. And so obviously I'm not working for them anymore, but they'll still be hiring. So that's another prospective job to help attain some supplemental income. They haven't kicked off their work quite yet because of COVID. It got stalled, but it should be picking up soon again. I got a call from them, I think, asking if I was still interested. But yeah, so educational institution jobs.
I'm glad I asked you to look at this one because I'm actually studying for my notary exam, but my concentration is going to be loan signing docs, not just the simple signatures. And
Okay.
I'm looking at number 14, staff at governmental offices who perform title search, notary, and recording services in support of mortgage real estate. I never thought about the government doing that. And of course they do, you know, acquire properties and all that kind of stuff. So I was in the car earlier, so I'm gonna have to definitely watch the replay to catch everything because I had to do some things. But I'm glad to see number 14 because it's right in line with what I'm trying to study now, to just add on to what I do additionally at home to, you know, boost revenue in all areas.
Absolutely, absolutely, right? So that might be sorry, let me go back to the accident exited out. So that might be a place where, you know, you go to caljobs.gov, right? To see if there's any opportunities in that with like what you just described, right? In terms of like person networking, I'm not sure, right? But that might be also a place if government employees have like LinkedIn's and you might know somebody who works for the government and just sort of like try to trace it that way as well to connect to a person. And then also I imagine you're in school for it. So the professors and or instructors might have connections as well, right? So that might be a good place to go to as well. Let's see, we're at 6:57. Okay, so I will send, I will share the link to this specific, and for those of you who, yeah, I'll share it because you don't want to type all that out. So here, let me actually, I think I can share it in the chat right now. So I'm gonna share it with everybody. There you go. So that's the link is in the chat for this, this directive, and then feel free to use it to search. And this is what I would talk about in like, this is a part doing the research, right? So we know where we can go to look for jobs. We know that we should be talking to people, but then you can begin to narrow your search by understanding which jobs are considered to be essential by the government, right? And so during this time, these jobs may or may not be hiring. They may be at, they sort of may be at capacity in some senses. And so be aware of that. It doesn't mean there's a lot of opportunity in these jobs, but it means that they are essential to the current time that we're in. So in a sense, there's greater opportunity than some other jobs that aren't essential. Okay, yeah, of course. So again, right, essential workforce frontline industries. We talked about some of them. Some of the other ones that we didn't get immense discussion in that last point were like grocery, convenience store, drugstores, public transit jobs, trucking, warehouse and postal service, building and cleaning services, healthcare, and so on, right? A note about trucking is we have a student at our Brotherhood Crusade YouthSource Center that I had the pleasure of working with, and he's interested in trucking. And so I had to do some homework on that to inform myself. And there's a lot of programs that offer the sort of licensure that you'll need, and they cost money, right? So what I found is that that's sort of that like for-profit university scam. It doesn't actually cost, you don't have to pay a school to teach you how to get your trucking license, right? You can just get your trucking license and take the practice tests, which are free and offered by the DMV, and take the class, right? There's fees associated with it, but you don't have to pay thousands of dollars for an experienced trucker to teach you the ropes. That's the for-profit capitalist industry we're at work. So just note that some of these opportunities are opportunities that are just available, and be aware that there are scams all over the place to just try to, sort of a predatory capitalist lens. So any questions there? Okay, cool.
This is Marka.
Yeah.
In regards to your student, is he looking for like long haul trucking or local?
I think he's looking for local. He's looking for local, yeah.
At FedEx, we hire couriers all the time. It all depends on what area he's in. We can talk, and all he needs to be is 21, a good driving record for the past 3 years, pass a drug screen, a background check, and a physical, and I can get him a job. $20 and 5 cents an hour.
This is great. So, Ms. Holmes, if I can, let's see, if I can just get your information directly, I'll send you my email in the chat. Does that work?
You already got, remember you emailed me already about my son? That's me.
Oh, I did. Okay, that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay, that's
yes.
right. That's
Yes.
right. Okay,
Yes.
then yes, we'll be in touch then is what I'm saying.
Excellent.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay,
I love
so
what I do.
it tells. And so this is that authenticity I'm talking about, right? They're like
LinkedIn.
really just being
Woo-hoo.
you, being magically you, you know what I mean? All right, so yeah, so some other in-demand jobs, right? So fitness trainer, okay, because we all are putting on myself. Well, I'll just speak for myself. I have my COVID pounds. I will say that. I'm looking forward to taking them off. I don't need a trainer. I just need a gym. But my COVID weight, yeah. It's like college. Like you put on the freshman 15. It's a COVID, some number. We'll just call it X. You know, not disclose too much. So this is logisticians, right? So these are in the middle of this picture, right? Refers to the folks who essentially plan. And probably Ms. Holmes, you could probably talk a little bit more about what that is. Would you mind?
I'm sorry, which one?
About the logisticians, like the folks that plan the truck routes for FedEx?
Yes, we have a lot of positions, and I think the most important position that we have here, besides managers, are the handlers. And because without the handlers, we're not going to succeed. And what they do is they load and unload the trucks. They call them the cans. And they put it on the belt so we can make sure that the packages get to where they go. So you got planes coming in to LAX, and LAX, you know, they supply your packages to Inglewood, to Compton, to Marina Del Rey. So all this stuff has to get to these certain locations in the morning so the trucks can go out at a certain time. It is an awesome sight to see. I don't care whether it's FedEx, UPS, DHL, it is an awesome sight to see. It's an awesome thing. But I will speak for FedEx. I do speak to young people all the time when they apply, and I can tell that they're young. I say it's hard work, but don't quit, because no company is going to offer you what some of the transportation companies will offer you. That's why you work so hard. They pay you all the 401k, you get flight benefits. I mean, you get so many benefits, and I tell them all the time, don't quit. I know it's hot. I know it's hard, but transportation is interesting, and it's like healthcare. You're always going to need it.
Right. It's essential with a capital E.
Yeah, in healthcare, how are you going to get the mask? How are you going to get this? How are you going to get that? You're depending on somebody to ship it, to get it to you. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Thank you for sharing that. Right. Yeah. So the logistician, they're the people that plan the truck routes. They plan the routes. They plan the times. So that's a job, a career pathway that has always been available, but essentially just touching on what Ms. Holmes spoke about, shipping is always going to be needed, right? And especially in this time where people are needing more and more goods to survive because they're not able to get it themselves, right? They're becoming more opportunities for logisticians. And then, of course, truck driving we have here at the bottom left, that's in reference to software engineers. This is, I mean, the tech industry, the tech boom is always blossoming, right? And especially in a sort of COVID context where everything is kind of, we're really recognizing that going virtual and working remote is something that is a privilege and a blessing for some of us, and others of us don't have that opportunity. But for young people who are interested in tech or interested even in social media, right, it just may be a good look to sort of push it a little bit and explore more about coding and other opportunities. And there's lots of programs that students can learn coding for free. And I know this is a push, especially among communities of color as well, because as we know, typically the Silicon Valley is, there aren't too many of us there, right? Let's just be frank. So I know some industries are looking to bolster that. Hopefully they put more efforts into merely just diversifying in terms of a quota basis, right? Because we know for us that it's not just about how many of us are there, it's about whether we are represented in the culture of the workplace as well, right? And we know what happens when we are not, that even if we are there, it is not exactly a humanizing setting for us, right? So that's important as well. We have nurses, of course, and various different kinds of nurses. You have your farm techs, you have your CNAs, you have your registered nurses, you have just various different kinds of nurses. So there's a lot of opportunity in that field. And the last one refers to promoters, promotion, and marketing. Companies in this COVID environment are having to do things differently to promote and to market their goods and to consumers. So there's going to be sort of a sort of new wave of opportunity for folks who can help companies get their goods out to us. So that's an opportunity as well. And social media, look, I will admit it. I understand this is going on YouTube. I'm technically a millennial, although I don't necessarily subscribe to the millennial lifestyle as much. But what I'm saying with that is that social media is profitable. Okay, so young people out there who may be listening to this or maybe referred to this by their parents or mentors, there are ways to turn your social media habits and social media skill sets into careers. Okay, so that's something to be on the lookout for, and there are certainly classes available, but honestly, your ingenuity as a young person is worth a lot more than I think myself and others give you guys credit for.
Can
Sure.
I interject?
Of course.
I used to recruit for
Okay.
Providence,
Yeah.
for Providence Health and Services. Most people probably know it as Little Company Mary. And I always want to say, when people deciding to become a CNA, kind of be careful if you work in like a nursing home, because when the hospital is looking for a CNA, they look for acute experience, and working in nursing homes, they do not consider that as acute experience. So it's hard to get in. You know, if you can, try to get some acute experience, but, you know, I'm not saying don't work in a nursing home, but it's harder to get in, you know, because you're not dealing with patients who are, you know, have mobility and things like that. So it's harder to get in when you're becoming a CNA. And people think you can get certified and I can work in a nursing home for 2 years and I can move to a hospital. A lot of times they won't take you.
So what, can you expand on what acute means here in this context?
Acute kind of means like patients that, you know, that are kind of active, you know, active patients more so, you know, nursing home, you look for the elderly, patients, you know, who are, I'm gonna say not, that you really don't have to giving him medication, like if my mom was in a nursing home and she's just kind of just laying there, you just have to give her medication, versus a patient that you might have to go tend to, like as a nursing assistant, so to speak. You're like second in command to a nurse, because you're not really using your skills. You're kind of like a babysitter that should be handing out meds.
Right. So it's almost like intermittent, right? Like as a nurse, you're at the nursing home, you're tending to your client or your patient, but you're not actively using your nursing skills all the time.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so one of the, let's see, where am I at? Okay, so other ways, right, aside from being able to search for jobs, right, aside from knowing what are the essential and or in-demand jobs that are available, right, aside from knowing, what the state says that is and as essential, right, and then it's important to do that work that we've been sort of alluding to and referencing throughout this presentation of that personal work, that self-investment, that self-care, if you will, right? So for youth, this could look like skill development, right? It can look like, if you are interested in coding, in taking that coding class that's free online or even on apps, right? And just doing that instead of maybe spending your time doing something that's more fun or social. Spend an hour or so a day learning a new skill, right? Start early, right? It can look like, obviously, academic prep and staying in school and concentrating on your schoolwork, right? I know it's hard virtually. I do not envy you young people who are in high school, in school right now. It's difficult. I think all of us as adults have immense empathy for you to be in school during this pandemic, okay? But do your best, right? Still put the effort in to stay up to date with your schoolwork, to ask questions, to push your teachers to challenge you academically, right? Don't accept low expectations. I know low expectations mean that you may get more time for video games or more time for TV, right? But when you later on, you're going to recognize that those low expectations, right, mean that you didn't learn as much in that class, right? You didn't learn as much as you should have, right? So be vigilant and, challenge yourself to want more for yourself academically, and challenge your teachers in a loving way, right? Like don't necessarily come at them, but encourage them to give you more, right? Because you're capable. All of you are brilliant. Every child is brilliant. Every student is brilliant. And if a teacher doesn't recognize that, let me know, because I also do that work. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. So enrichment activities. So these are those extracurriculars, right? And it'll look different in COVID, right? So volunteer. You can still volunteer virtually. You can volunteer helping like deliver food to people in need in a safe, perhaps social distancing way. So just be on the lookout for those kind of opportunities to still stay active, right? Because colleges are even changing in a sense of what they'll require in terms of application, but they're still going to want to see a young person that has been active in their community. Okay, they're still going to want to see that, because some students are. So be prepared for that. And then so for adults, right, and the adult recommendations also apply to young people. So update and polish your resume, right? Now's the time to do it. It's not always fun work. Let's just be frank. It's tedious, right? It is tedious work. We can just acknowledge that. But it's important to do, to keep your resume updated, and make sure that the formatting, the spelling, all of that is sort of attractive to like a recruiter like Ms. Holmes, and easy to read and easy to go through without spending too much time. You don't want to give anybody a reason not to be interested in you as a professional, okay? And having a good, clean resume is an important tool for anybody, right? LinkedIn is free, okay? So joining LinkedIn and just sort of putting some of your accomplishments. There are lots of how-tos online on how to make your LinkedIn, like your resume, clean and attractive, okay? So I encourage young people to create a LinkedIn account because honestly, all adults love seeing young people doing things at an earlier age than we did it ourselves, okay? It's very impressive, right? Because we think about that. Oh, when I was your age, I didn't X, Y, or Z. So if you're a young person, create a LinkedIn page and ask for help on how to do that. Ask your parents or contact one of us at the Brotherhood Crusade. Sign up for us as your provider, and we would be happy to help you create a great LinkedIn page. Self-informed. That is in reference to some of like the research that I showed earlier on, some of the essential, the California State Directive by Governor Newsom, right? That's what I meant by self-informed. Do that kind of extra work to know, like, what are the economic projections for California? What are the economic projections for the nation, right? Moving forward. They're changing ever so much, but you can start to update yourself on that. And that means you can narrow your search even more. So the more information you have, the more accurate your job search will be. And so massive open online courses, they're called MOOCs, right? So these are essentially a collection of accredited educational institutions, colleges, that put up free and sometimes paid, but a lot of free courses from predominant universities in the US, right? So for example, with our students at the Brotherhood Crusade, we have something called a men's group that we do. We also have a women's group. But in our men's group, which I help co-lead or co-facilitate, we use Coursera.org to offer it was a quick 4-week course by one of the foremost professors of African-American history in the nation and African-American education, Dr. Anderson, and he's actually a dean at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And so he offered this course online, and so we were giving it to our students, okay? And some of these courses offer certificates. Usually you have to pay for that, but honestly, just taking the course is enough. It's also enough at just taking these courses to put that on your resume. And we can talk about how to frame that, right? Even if you don't get the certificate, you can still put that on your resume, certainly, right? And that'll look great. So all of those websites are massive open online course websites, okay? So that I would immensely recommend that you check that out. And then also LinkedIn has something called LinkedIn Learning. They have professional development courses that they offer. I'm not sure, I believe it's paid. If you do a subscription, then I think you get it included in the subscription. But honestly, I've taken some of those courses, especially to inform my own job search. And when I would see some qualifications that I didn't feel strongly about, or I knew that I can learn it, I knew I had the skills to learn how to do it, I just haven't been taught it yet, I would go to LinkedIn Learning to essentially give myself a crash course on what that is, right? What that skill set is. So I at least had the vocabulary to be able to talk about it with the recruiter or the hiring manager, knowing that I can learn on the job how to do it much better. But that's sort of like, that for me was a self-investment piece in helping me to acquire a job, or to be qualified for a job that maybe was a little bit of a stretch for me in one or two categories. So we're gonna try something. We have about, I'm gonna say, let's do this for the next 5 or so minutes, and then we'll get into questions. So networking, right? We spoke about networking within your communities as a means to locate employment. So we have about 6 people. So I think we'll just, instead of going to breakout groups, we'll just kind of stay here. And then, so what I want you to do is you know, we'll take turns. And so introduce yourself briefly, you know, say your name, perhaps say your name, and then give a brief summary of your interests and or experiences, right? And so I want you to remember to be yourself, be authentically you, and then look out for any form of connection, okay? And yeah, so you guys ready? So how about, I'm just gonna popcorn somebody and then you can begin, okay? So let's go with Miss Davis.
So we are introducing ourselves.
Introduce yourself. So this is like we want to network, right? Just want to see the connections that we have, and maybe our connections can help us find employment, right?
Okay. My name is Tanya Davis, and let's see. So I volunteer with a team mentoring group in South LA called Honey Buns, where we service teams 14 to 17. And I also work for the Green Foundation, which is an advocacy, is a resource that provides resource and advocacy for African American communities that have been impacted with tobacco, with retail tobacco selling in our communities and things like that. So we kind of go out and talk about those things. And we do have interns that come every semester. So if anyone has interns that are looking to do advocacy work, yeah, you can hit me up. Or if you have teams that would like to be a part and they live in the South LA area, they can also, it's honeybuns.org, and I can put both of those in the chat.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. It is for girls. Did I say girls? Teen girls, ages of 14, 17, 15 to 17.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
And so you want to popcorn somebody else? Do you see the participants?
Oh, let me see if my friend is still on here. No, he left. Okay. We can go with next on my computer. I have Marcia Holmes.
Yes, this
Did I say
Martha
that correct?
Holmes.
Oh,
This
Martha.
Martha,
Okay.
yes. I know it looks like Marcia. My name is Martha Holmes. Currently, I am a recruiter for FedEx Express. The reason I say currently, because if someone calls me and this is not their niche, I will do my best to find you employment wherever I can, because we do background checks, and if someone fail, I have a list, I won't say for felons, but I have a list for people who don't have my background. So I'm just a recruiter by passion. I also have an HR background. What else? I am currently taking my LSATs for law school.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
You're
You want
welcome.
to popcorn somebody else?
Okay, let me look. Miss Regina.
I think I'm unmuted. Hi, I'm my full government name, Regina Christine Creighton. They gave it to me, so you might as well use the whole name. I have a couple home-based businesses, Gina's Cuisine Cupcakes, an online cupcake boutique. You'll see my virtual thing in the background. I run also a social media management company called Hello Social Media Management, which stands for Helping Everyone Last Online Longer. I am the eyes and the ears of a few different social media accounts. So maybe if you go on Instagram and someone's, you see posts or you see comments and interaction, I interact for people behind the scenes. So their followers or their audience that they're trying to build says, wow, every time I go on Marca's page, she answers me right back. Or, she posts something and she responds in my DM. It could really be me, acting on her behalf, helping her grow her, her company or just her personal brand awareness. And I also have a podcast called Get It Done with Gina Radio, where we talk about entrepreneurship, accountability, and faith. I had an in-studio show for 2 years. And when COVID came, we no longer have that studio. My studio actually came out of Dallas. And so they had a studio in Dallas and a studio here in LA. So now I have transitioned the show to Get It Done with Gina Radio, the home edition. So I get to broadcast right here from home. And it saves me time, it saves me money, and I still get to do what I love. So that's who I am.
I'm just gonna give you snaps for doing everything.
Thank you.
All the things. That's so wonderful. I look forward to touching base with you after this presentation is over, because I feel like I would love to have some of our young people, all of you actually, hear from and you guys give like a kind of a day in the life, for example, whether it's with your social media aspects and trading that you were talking about, or whether it's even baking and so on and so forth. So please do put your information in the chat for myself and Rebecca from the Wooten Center so we can stay in touch. And last but not least, Danielle.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Cormier. I haven't met a few of you on here. And you asked for our interests. I currently don't have any, just trying to survive this COVID situation.
Okay. And so what about your experience?
I have a background in marriage and family therapy. Have worked with foster youth for over 20 years. Have some culinary experience. I love to travel.
Okay, yeah. So do you mind sharing what you're up to now?
Nothing. I've been applying for jobs since this happened. And not any luck. There's a big hiring freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Once this is over, the company that works with the Chargers, told me they'll start hiring again in case any of the youth is interested in that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I forgot what the name of the company is, but I think if they go to the Chargers website, it'll have it on there for like corporate work.
Okay.
But yeah, I've just been applying to everything and nothing's.
Okay. Has that been true for like child and social services jobs as well, that it's all sort of?
I applied to, I think it's Los Angeles County.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, okay, we'll contact you to let you know if your application was accepted or something. About 2 months passed, and they said, oh, we have your application, so now wait for the test. And It's been like a month now that I haven't heard anything from them. Okay.
Yeah, so I hear you, right? So I'm wondering, have you also looked at like an idealist.org or other websites that have like nonprofit vacancies perhaps?
Actually, I've only been on Indeed. Today was the first day that I've heard of most of the things you listed. So I took note of all that. And LinkedIn, I'm on there, but I don't use it. But I am on Indeed.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So Idealist has been one of those for me that kind of lends itself towards a nonprofit aspect as well. And if you the next slide will be my contact information. If you email me, I didn't put it on the slides, but I think I have more websites that kind of lend towards this like social service, because that's also sort of like my passion and my career paths as well. So I can try to share, and I can share that with the group as well. I can share sort of some of the sites that I've been able to find that, some of them were helpful, some of them weren't, to be honest, but it just gave kind of an idea. It's, it's a wide scope kind of search engine aspect. So I can share that with you as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Marka Holmes. I want to ask you a question, Ms. Danielle.
Yes.
They haven't posted externally as of yet, but would you be interested in a senior customer service position in the Inglewood area?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, I put my information there.
I have it.
Yeah, email me, and I have 3 full-time, 2 part-time, and they're competitive positions, which means they post internally first. You'd be surprised what people internally don't want. And then once they post externally, I'll let you know, and then I'll send them to that you're my referral.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Look at that. Hold on. We just got to,
I
this
know.
was a networking activity.
Yeah.
And look at that. I just, look at God, as they say.
Amen. Amen.
There you go. There you go. I'm going to do the shuffle real quick.
That's how recruiting is so my passion, you know.
There you go. So yeah, so again, this has been honestly, it's been really great being with you guys today. It's been a great opportunity to present this information and really just take space and make connections with each of you, especially in this COVID climate. You know, connections have dwindled. So I really consider this to be a blessing to be here with you all virtually. So I'd like to thank Naomi McSwain, who's the executive director of the Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center, and Rebecca Dabbs, USC public health intern, who's really been, you know, a great point person and a great thought partner for this experience. So thank you, Rebecca, for all that you've done. And I'd like to thank Leo Hill III, who's our sports scholastic program director with Brotherhood Crusade. He's sort of been a mentor for me in the sort of job development piece. And then George Weaver, who's our director of research practice and evaluation, another mentor of mine. And then Miss Sharice Berman Weaver. She is our fearless leader, our president and CEO, the daughter of the founder of the Brotherhood Crusade. And so she is also just someone to look up to and someone who's been a leader within the South Los Angeles community for decades. So there's my contact information. Please do contact me, send me an email, and let's stay in touch. And then let's you know, work to help out our communities, and let's keep working to help out these youth and to get them the opportunities that they deserve, and also keep them safe. And let's keep this Fed uprising going too. I'm just gonna say that. That's a personal decision. Not on behalf of Brotherhood Crusade, but that's me. So, all right. I'll leave it to you, Rebecca.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. This was really a great dialogue, and I like how you included like questions and you kind of forced us all to network and to like share a little bit about ourselves. I think that, again, going back to that being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, that's like step one, right, of job search and everything. If you haven't put your email in the chat box, please do so. I'm going to refer back to that for sharing all these resources, and anything in there, any links, any emails, any numbers that you all want me to share, I'll be sure to share it out with all the participants. And again, this recording will be uploaded on the Wooten Center YouTube channel. So I will send the link with the participant thank you to the participants for joining with us today. But again, thank you so much, Mr. Prudhomme, for enlightening us and being such a great resource.
Okay.
I appreciate that. And thank you, Rebecca. And you'll be able to share with me what's in the group chat, correct?
Yes, I will share with you what's in the group chat, and I downloaded all the flyers that you had shared with me, and so that will go out to the participants as well. And
Perfect.
I will put links for the YouTube video as well.
Okay, thank you so much. All right,
Thank you
everybody,
so
have a
much.
blessed day and have a good evening.
You
Thank
too. Good
you.
night.
Okay, all right, good night. Bye.